Hello, welcome. My name is Chris Hill. I'm the chairman of the board and CEO of CNXR. Welcome to a special edition of our wellness journey. This is an innovation and technology edition of this podcast, and I'm really excited to have a real friend and partner in the industry, Hemant Madaan, who is the CEO and founder of JumpGrowth, OTS Solutions, and also a relatively new business line in the cloud space to join me for this special edition on innovation and technology. Welcome, Hemant.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks a lot, and thanks for the introduction. Love
No,
it.
it's great, and under full disclosure, Hemant and his team and the team at CNXR have worked very closely together as we've been building out the CNXR system that, frankly, we're on right now in terms of our telehealth system, and then also our virtual reality system on XR. And as we look at various other things like glasses and really other innovations in the business, the team at JumpGrowth has been instrumental and really a valued partner, and I'm really glad to have this conversation. But this
Thank you, Chris.
conversation is going to be fun, even beyond the work that we do together. Hemant, and you and I have talked about this a little bit, and we thought we'd put together here as a podcast because we talked about the industry, talking about where the growth is, no pun intended with JumpGrowth, but where is the growth coming for overall technology solutions? I know that JumpGrowth has a lot of experience, not just in the medical technology space that CNXR plays in overall healthcare and pharma, but in the banking, financial services, logistics, and various other things. We live in a world around AI-driven data and innovation here. So we thought we'd spend some time just talking a little bit about where the market's going, maybe putting our futuristic hats on, have some fun with that. But before we do that, Hemant, please, for our audience, if you could just give a little bit of background about your business lines now multiple business companies, and just so they have some history and just some background as to what your business is and how you currently do business before we talk about the future.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks for having me. It's been a real pleasure. I must say, it has been a great journey. I think we've worked together for pretty much almost like 3 to 4 years, and it has been a very adventurous and amazing journey. I love the visions the XR brings. So thank you for that, and thanks for giving the opportunity and having me today. A bit of introduction. So I have been an entrepreneur for the past 23 years now. Started the company in 2002 in India in the name of OTS Solutions, and that was in Delhi. Grew that to around a team size of around 100 people, and that's when we realized that we're hitting a ceiling. So I moved to US in 2015. So we now operate from US and various other locations. But primarily, what we do is we started by providing software development services to technology companies like CNXR. So we help them with providing product engineering services, started with desktop applications and web applications and a lot of mobile applications, and now AR, VR as well. And nowadays, everything is AI. So AI kind of forms the top layer above everything else, or if I may, the back layer, in front of that, we build a lot of web applications or mobile applications. But in the background, we've been using AI pretty much with all the new projects or work that we've been doing. And then we realized that once we build the product, the next stage is to host them, and where to host them, to cloud. So we then started a cloud company, which is a second service line. And so in that, we call it as AptaCloud. And JumpGrowth is the brand which is focused towards product teams, technology companies, helping them build the products. And AptaCloud today is more focused towards off-the-shelf products, cloud products, which we can integrate to solve a particular business problem and speed up the execution. AI kind of becomes the DNA of both the companies, and we are excited with the future, the way it's going. And I think I'm very excited for the topic today. So let's talk about future and how things are going from here for sure.
Excellent. Let's go at the perhaps the highest macro level for a second before we get down to sector and on specific technologies. At the highest level, Hemant, you have obviously decades of experience. You can see where the growth is, the bubbles are, various things. Just from a sector of the world, if you will, just from a regional component, have you seen any trends in terms of where money is being spent, more so than perhaps other regions? Obviously you're out of Texas, but you have a global footprint, so you have you have a sense of that. Could you break out a little bit as to where the money's currently being spent? And when I say money, it may be for consulting services, maybe for SaaS subscription services, or anything that you've observed from an investment perspective. Where is the money flowing? In which part of the region, perhaps most, or what are the top 2 or 3 regions?
I think the topmost, which I have been observing, and I think everybody kind of would agree with me, is AI. I think everybody is just going after AI for the past 2 years. Now, a bigger debate is it a bubble, same as .com or not? A lot of people have been contemplating and playing around with that question, whether it's a bubble similar to what we had or what we have seen in the past. In my humble opinion, I believe this is better than .com because there is some real substance over here. .com was, in my own words, was a lot of fluff than actual substance. With AI, there is a hype cycle for sure. So there are various different companies which have expanded or built up their model simply as a layer on top of, let's say, an OpenAI or an LLM. But then there are some real substance companies which have built some real solutions to the problems with the help of AI. I mean, today, if I talk about 11 Labs or Bland AI, they're like real problem solvers. For example, in my own business, I was using a call center to take my inbound calls, and I was paying probably around $1,000 a month at that time. Fast forward, I started using Bland AI. Today, I have 2 inbound numbers. Um, my AI agents handle the queries, simple plug and play. All I pay now is $30 a month. Imagine the return that I've got from $1,000 a month to $30 a month. Now, things are changing. So, to your question, where is the money being spent, or where is the money being saved, or where is the money flowing? I think AI, it's a game changer, and I think we've all seen it from ChatGPT when it opened the doors for everybody to today when I see each and every sector, each and every industry is going after AI. I believe that's where things are flowing and things are moving.
You reference the hype curve, the famous Gartner hype curve, and you get the troughs and the various things, the disillusionment and various things. It sounds like, and I agree with you, by the way, that this is sustainable. You're already seeing the return on even modest investment, and you feel that this is not sort of a hype cycle issue. It's really more about growing sustainability, and as it evolves, that this is not a bubble, or this is really something that, much like with the .com, as you say, although that there was a little bit of a burst at that point, clearly it's sustaining, and you think AI is at that level, or more, if not
Yeah.
more.
Yes, and I see. I honestly believe that there would definitely be some sort of a burst, but primarily that burst would happen. And I think the same thing happened with .com as well. There was all the fluff kind of went away, and in this hype cycle as well, the solutions or the things which are simple feature enhancements or simple top layer solutions on LLMs would slowly either fade away, maybe get acquired, or maybe just not existing after a few years. And I think one more thing which I would like to acknowledge here, which um, at least in my opinion, I feel is going to change the world the way we see it today, is robotics. I
Mm.
think not a lot of people they're not speaking about it much because you still need a very specialized skill to do that. But if you see where the money is flowing, you see all the um, bigger companies investing, you would see they're all silently and slowly investing in robotics. I mean, be it the big 30,000 layoffs happening from Amazon, they are claiming it to, being taken over by AI or whatever. And then similarly, they are also publishing the reports where most of their warehouses are now using robots. Now, these robots might not come in humanoid form. They might come in smaller form, but they're going to be coming for, that's the next, next. As a humanity, if I see as us as humans, I feel that's the next obvious step. I don't want to wash my dishes forever, right? I mean, I want somebody to just take care of my dishes. My wife wants it. Everybody wants it. I think we're just waiting for that innovation to happen. And I think next 10 to 20 years are going to be game changing with the help of robotics and AI together.
Well,
And
the
that's where,
evolution, when we were growing up, we had to wash our own dishes, right? Then all of a sudden we had a dishwasher, but we're still having to load it and take it out, right? So we're looking for that
yes,
level of information. You mentioned a vertical, you mentioned manufacturing, and and with .com and some other of the major evolutions, even going back to the old days of the Model T and the cars and the various productions there, we saw certain sectors kind of lead the charge, right? Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's social media led the charge in some aspect of the social media movement there. Medical, of course, something that we both feel that are playing here. But you mentioned manufacturing, and what else could you say a little bit about the segments that are leading the charge around AI? Where do you see the investment going from a certain type of segment? And if you spend a little more time talking about that.
yes. I mean, from what I'm seeing, that's the amazing part of AI. I feel that technology has been picked up by each and every sector that I've been to or I've spoken to. You will
Right.
not believe, out of all the sectors, we have a client in oil and gas, and the they've got some amazing use case that we're building for them. They had more than 3,000 SOP documents, which their field workers had to refer to for every job or whatever job they were doing. Now, imagine going through those SOP documents and learning them or referring them whenever they need it. Now we've created a AI chatbot which already ingests all this information, and the field workers can now in the field, with the help of simple Wi-Fi or network connection, they can chat with these PDF documents which are already ingested in that in that technology. So to your question, I think it is literally going through each and every industry that I now talk to. I was speaking to a real estate play there. I mean, it was their co-working space around 12 locations. And they are using AI now to as a customer service, where their main key questions are: is it available, and when is it available? Those two key questions they have been literally manning each and every location for those two key questions. Now they are bringing on this AI customer service agent, which can, by the way, now do multi-model. They do, it can do voice, it can do chat, it can do whatever. I mean, the way they want to do it, and now they don't need to worry about a Sunday or whatever. Generally, all these co-working spaces they are not working on Sundays. They don't have manpower on Sundays. Now, with this AI agent, it is 24 by 7. People can just reach out to it whenever they want to ask those two simple questions. Is it available? When is it available? I spoke to the CEO, and he's like a good friend now. And this guy tells me it's a game changer for him. Game changer. And that's what I'm saying. Each and every industry that I've spoken to, one, this is probably the quickest adoption of technology we've all seen in the world. And forget the end industry. I can also talk about my own industry. Coding. We used to like code with the help of humans. Now, 70% or at least 60% of our code is now generated with tools like Cursor AI or Replit and you know it, we had two options: either we oppose it or we embrace it, and we embraced it. I mean, today we give that advantage to our clients. We say, we can actually do more code in less number of time, so you pay us less money because we were charging time. Now we can start charging outcomes, and we can give you much better outcomes and much faster. So that's where we are all going. We are all going towards outcome driven consulting or outcome driven pricing, if I may.
The rise of vibe coding, and not wasn't that long ago when a business or an industry would be, where the job became less attractive for whatever reason, and it was always this sort of, okay, learn to code. Well, it seems like we're at the point where learning to code and being a programmer isn't necessarily the surest way, although of course there'll be roles for that. Take us, Hemant, a little bit to the technology, behind the scenes of the technology then, without getting too technical. Are we in a situation now where you almost have to choose your domain? In the old days, you had to choose, a certain development coding language. Is this going to be in this type of coding? We started with C, and all of a sudden we had all these other sort of coding languages, and now we're running into situations where, well, is it open AI? Is it XAI? We just saw recently that Apple has decided to outsource their AI to Google and to various things like that. Are you in a situation now where you have to choose a domain? Is that a short-term situation, or is that sort of something that that requires you to sort of think into the future as to who's going to win, or is that really not an issue?
Very valid question, Chris. Initially when we when we used to work with technology companies, building their technology on their behalf and building their IP, we were suggesting technologies on the basis of scalability, on the basis of the platforms that they wanted to target, or things like that. Now with the this explosion of vibe tools, um, no one cares. All they care about is the user interface, which we can design for them through a human. So we definitely have a human in the loop in the whole coding cycle, right? So the human can design or work on the requirements, then from there design using UI UX tools, and they can be then given that final design can then be given to the vibe, and it can automatically be coded. Now people do not really care about that much. I would say there are, of course, there will always be people who would care what technology are using in developing, and you should. But I think that requirement of definitely knowing technology and choosing technology over X versus Y is slowly fading away. What is still there, that obviously has to be an intelligent choice. For example, let's say when we're working with a banking technology company, or an insurance technology company, or an insurance company, where there is even for instance a health company, where there is still a compliance involved, where there is the data has to be siloed from the external world, where there is a requirement of choosing classic technology, then we can probably use classic technology. We choose that by design, but the front end portion of it we can choose and build very quickly with Vibe. And right now, not a lot of Vibe tools can code in system languages like C++ or old classic languages. They can very easily do JavaScript and all the all the web and mobile technologies, but still classic technologies like Java, C++, all that is still not easily doable with Vibe. So uh, I think from depending on the use case, most of the work is now being done using Vibe, and does not really matter what technology are you choosing. There are some specialized cases which will continue to be a question of what technology you're choosing, and that we need to do in any case.
It makes sense, and if I hear you right, Hemant, the end user certainly may not care about the technology platform. Maybe even the client that's paying you, it may not care. But it sounds like you, as a development organization, aren't making hard choices. You're not caring. You're not in a situation where you have to bet on one platform and hope that the other one doesn't take hold here. It sounds like you're pretty agnostic behind the scenes as well. Is that right?
Is right. And see, again, it all depends on case to case basis, but we deal with a lot of MVP development where, they have to roll out the product as soon as possible so that they can start getting the feedback from the market. And there things have become pretty agnostic where, they just want the product to be out as soon as possible. And then, we have a choice of Vibe now, which we can do that and quickly bring it out to the market for people.
Tell me, we talked a little bit about Vibe, and maybe we don't need the classic developer as much. I mean, obviously, there's a role for developers and technologists. Could you tell us a little bit about, as you're thinking about your hiring model, the type of person you look for to help drive your business and to work alongside you? Maybe it isn't as a function of just developer only per se, because you have some tools that can help with the development. So what is it then? What is the profile of the type of person you look to hire over the next 2 to 3 to 5 years? Is that evolved in your thinking?
It has a lot. In fact, as I said initially as well, that It's not just, and now that I think of it, it's not just about the industries, but also all the roles in every organization have evolved. Right from, so for example, when we talk about the roles that we have for a particular project, we have a scrum master or a project manager. Then we have a business analyst who takes the requirements. Then we have the UI UX person who designs. Then we have the actual developer who develops. Then we have the QA and testing person who tests the in the product engineering space. That's what you require as a team. Now each and every role has evolved with the help of AI. Today we talk about Notion AI. We talk about Jira using AI. So my project managers and my Scrum Master role has completely evolved from trying to do everything humanly to evolved now into using AI and uh, speeding that up. So, creating sprints with the help of AI, creating user stories with the help. My UI UX person is now required to create designs in Figma which can be easily imported into Lovable or any Vibe tool. My developer today needs to have that experience of using Vibe tools and the ones that we're using. We use Cursor, we use Lovable, we use all these Vibe tools. If my developers do not know these Vibe tools, then I need to go through that knowledge curve and that training curve again, which I don't want anymore. So to answer your question, in the next 2 to 5 years, in each of these roles, we are already looking for experience with AI. They should be able to interact with AI. As everybody's famously saying, it's not AI that's going to take your job. It's the person who knows AI better than you. So it's all about learning AI right now so that you are already skilled. It's all about keeping yourself updated with the new skills and technologies, and think of AI as a tool in your toolbox to how to enhance your role and be more productive for people. So that's what we are looking for in all the roles that we're hiring.
What are the unique, we talked about rapid prototype development with vibe computing. All of a sudden, it just happened very fast. What is the role of QA and quality assurance here? Because we've seen famously that even some of the very high impact firms that we've talked about already in the call have launched certain AI engines and been embarrassed. Some of the stuff comes out. How do you ensure quality?
Well, I mean, we use a ton of quality tools which are now automating a lot of things. For example, we use browser stack, which is helping us automating a lot of QA. But in terms of functional testing, actually, the role of QA now becomes even more important because when we are doing Vibe, it tends, as of now, it still tends to produce a lot of bugs. So we need to have very strong use cases and functional test cases, which we have to automatically write at times. And there has to be a human in the loop to test all these things. So we definitely need to have a QA human which checks all those functional testing manually first, and then with automated test as well. And just to that point, Chris, even before AI, the QA was already getting done with a lot of automation and automated QA tools which were there. And we are just evolving in that cycle now by doing a lot of automation in QA. But to your point, a lot of companies which have got into embarrassing situations with bad QA, or they started with AI and then they moved back. I think that probably has to something to do with they completely removed humans from the loop. You We have to understand that we've not reached to that stage where we can remove humans completely from the loop. We still need to, like, for example, if I needed 10 FTEs for doing a job, probably now I would need 3. But there's still a need of those 3 that would need to look at and supervise the, the execution by the AI. It's similar in a way when we started transforming our manufacturing shop floors from humans to robots. And then these robotic arms, when they came in the picture, those 10 FTEs on the floor then got reduced to only 1 or 2. That's exactly what is happening right now in development. The team of 5 will be now reduced to, let's say, 1 or 2. That's what's happening. That's how it's evolving.
But there remains a need for oversight and sort of direction and various things that's human based, and I think that's great. Excellent. Well, let me just finish up our discussion here a little bit, which I think has been fascinating, Hemant. I've always enjoyed our conversations, and I'm sure people are benefiting from this one. You mentioned that this is not a verticalized situation with AI, meaning that the verticals are all benefiting, whether it's medical that we play in, healthcare, pharma, banking. As you say, it's not a verticalized driving situation here. It's that ambiguous, and I think that's right. Is there any trend that you've seen regarding the region of the world that's making this investment? And let me just couch this a little bit that we know that a lot of the development remains happening in your neck of the wood in Texas with XAI or opened a foundation, obviously out of California and Silicon Valley. That's not going to change. There's still a lot of the development happening there. But my question really resolves around consumption and particularly the people willing to pay for these services. Do you see any investment coming, perhaps more? Is it still very much US, North America based? I know there's been a lot of investment coming out of Dubai and Mumbai and certainly out of Beijing, some investment coming out of South America, various places like that. Is there any part of the world, if you're kind of doing a heat map here with respect to investment being made for innovation, is there anyone that stands out, or is that also more of a horizontal versus a regional focus?
Um, I think, see, when I see the world as a heat map, and I see that, okay, these are the places which are doing or using more AI than these places, I believe the obvious ones are going to stand out. And a lot depends on the population, the technology penetration in those populations, the penetration of internet and penetration of technology, which is already there. Now, that being said, I think India and China are already leading the race. And then you rightly said, UAE, the one thing which I would and I must mention over here is I've seen in my experience, Gulf countries, you talk about Saudi, you talk about UAE, you talk about all the Gulf region. I think they are and in this hype cycle, if I may, I see that they are actually taking a pioneer role over there. They are leading it from the front. They're not really holding themselves back. Like, Europe and US, we are very uh, mindful in terms of compliances, in terms of privacy. But they even if they they would like to be mindful, but they are more and bigger risk takers in that. And I've seen a lot of adoption in terms of AI, even in terms of blockchain, cryptocurrency. Those newer age technologies have really been led by those countries now, and they can make huge investments, and they have been making huge investments in that. To your point, I believe that if I see US, North America, Europe, they are or we are good payers of technology in terms of we don't mind paying subscription. That's how our mind is tuned. We would rather pay $20 a month than paying $20,000 upfront. That's how this the mind is trained. Whereas in places like India and China, I've seen that their mindset is, okay, I would just invest and get it built. I would just make the capex, get it built for myself, and then use it. Right there, the subscription model is not very prevalent, if I may. And it's not just about AI; it's about in general technology consumption. If we talk about they would rather have something to be served for free, and then you can charge them under the something, and that would probably help or flourish better there. So in my opinion, I think it all the pricing strategy has to be more towards catered and specific towards the country that you're targeting. What, like for example, I take examples of McDonald's all the time. McDonald's, what you're selling here in US, vis-a-vis the product that they sell in India, are believe it or not, they are like miles apart from each other. We have more veggie options because obviously we are the biggest vegetarian population in the world, vis-a-vis, and here we don't have any veggie burgers in any of the McDonald's, and I hate it because I'm a vegetarian. But then that's the story. But then I find them pretty fascinating because they as a company, they evolved pretty nicely. And I mean, it's a story. KFC came to India or went to India before McDonald's, and believe it or not, KFC actually failed because they did not evolve. They were not serving vegetarian burgers or vegetarian meals over there. McDonald's, on the other hand, became very successful. KFC came back again, and then they started serving vegetarian food over there. And then they became successful. And so it's all about the pricing on what really sells in that country. But if I have to kind of see the heat map, I think the obvious ones are leading the way. We talk about Australia, we talk about Europe, we talk about US, we talk about India, we talk about China. Major population centers and the technology penetration centers are already leading the way. I think pretty much everybody is spending nowadays in AI. But I think I have to acknowledge Gulf countries are leading, especially on bigger investment side. They're the investment push is coming from the government side. They're really taking bigger projects in their kitty as well. I know it was a long answer, but just wanted to cover that. Sorry.
Well, no, it's an important answer because when you talk about that, there is a global footprint. There's investment being made all over the world for sure, but we've also seen that, particularly coming out of places like the UAE, out of Riyadh, having the government, enabling the investment does a few things. One, investment happens, but B, the rules and regulations, the red tape, the restrictions and very things that you see, in particular in places like Europe. Let's be honest, it's harder to do business, and it matters regarding where people like you and your business and me and like my business focus. I know it's Index are. We're seeing a lot of traction coming out of places like Dubai and Mumbai with medical, world-class medical facilities adopting some of the services that we offer. And that's not to say it's not happening in the US or in Europe, but that there's a certain level of pace and a certain level of government support that does make a difference in terms of adoption. And then to your point, whether that translates into subscription-based services, are people willing to pay? Those are important issues, but in terms of where people focus, ultimately it matters. And I do love your analogy. Ironically enough, I've been to the McDonald's here in Boston. I've been to the McDonald's in Mumbai, and I was really impressed with the options in Mumbai more so than Boston, to be honest with you. We'll see a little more fresher, a little more options on the menu, a little more high end. So I appreciate that. In my first trip to India, famously, my partner in India thought it was great that I would be coming to India and to show that my home. They would bring me to McDonald's to see, just so I felt like home. And I'm like, I don't really do much McDonald's at home. But then I saw what was going on. But I have to admit, I enjoyed more the Indian food that we saw in other places, and even beyond Mumbai to Udaipur, Jaipur, and various other places. It brings back some great memories. Well, I want to say thank you, Hemant. Our conversations one-on-one have always been interesting. I'm glad we were able to do this wellness journey and focus on innovation and technology and the state of where we are. And it's a very exciting place to be. The future is all ahead of us here. And I really enjoy the partnership we work together on to help navigate it as partners. And I say thank you for your time today, sir.
Thank you for yours, Chris. Thanks a lot for having me. And it's always a pleasure talking to you. So feel free. I mean, I would love to catch up again anytime. And if you're here in Dallas, let me know. Love to meet in person as well.
Very, very good.